All right, you are all set.
Okay, this is a regular meeting of the Town School Partnership for November 17, 2025. Let's start off with a roll call. Let's see. Charlie, could you do the roll call?
Sure
I'm
thing.
not
Let's start
getting.
with advisory. Harry Friedman,
Here.
Cliff Brown,
Here.
School Committee, Valerie Frias,
Yes.
and Mariah Nobrega.
Yes.
And then Select Board will do David Perlman
Here.
and Chair Green.
Yes, here. Okay. Let's start off with the first item on the agenda, of course, which is approving the minutes for August 20, 2025. Does anyone have any corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, I move approval of the minutes for August 20, 2025. Charlie, can you call a roll or
Second.
vote?
Harry Friedman,
I'll abstain.
Cliff Brown,
Yes.
Valerie Frias,
Yes.
Mariah Nobrega,
Yes.
and David Perlman,
Yes.
and Chair Green.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Hey, sorry, Charlie, for asking you to do that, but
It's okay. When we're on Zoom, I know it can be tough, but I'm happy to do it. No problem.
okay. So
Motion passes.
Pardon me?
I'm just saying motion passes.
Right. Okay, public schools of Brookline enrollment. Who's going to talk about that? Do we need to wait for the school people to get here, or
A
can
couple of them just
Mariah
got here.
or
I'm going to
Valerie?
get Susan Givens promoted, and Bella is promoted. And just let me know if there's anybody on your end you'd like to have promoted as well. But you should be able to share your screen if you'd like to. And for other folks, the presentation that was done of enrollment at the November 6th school committee is in the packet.
Right. Okay, Bella, are you going to make the presentation?
Oh, Bella,
you're
you are muted. Sorry. But Susan,
So
you're
sorry.
also promoted if you want
Yeah.
to speak.
We just finished up a meeting, and so Susan went across the hall, but I'm assuming Susan's going to present.
Okay.
She might have. There she is.
Yeah, just give me a second. If you want me to pull up the presentation, give me a second to do that.
I apologize. We just finished up one meeting, and we just that's why we're a little tardy.
Understood, and
No
we have
problem.
a hard stop at 6, so I think, and then
Okay.
there's 2 other meetings of ENRC
Yep.
tonight, so
Okay.
we totally get it.
Yeah.
Okay, can you see?
Yep.
Am I sharing? Okay, great. So, yes, this is the enrollment report that we presented at the school committee meeting on November the 6th. And so I'll just run through the slide deck with you. So this first slide here gives us a summary of our overall enrollment since the 2016 school year until this school year. So as you all know, you had a spike in enrollment there back in the 2016, 17, 18, all the way till COVID hit. And then when COVID hit, you can see the fairly big drop in enrollment at that time. And then since then, enrollments have kind of been fairly flat after that, going up a little bit, this year going down a little bit. When spread over all of our schools and all of our grades, it doesn't really amount to any significant increase or decrease that would overall impact staffing profiles. Of course, staffing profiles, I have to say, are going to be really influenced by not just the number of students, but the range and variation of the students' needs. So this provides you with information of our October 1 enrollment this year, allocated out by school and by grade. So you can see if you go to the far left, we have 600, or far right, you see that Baker has 663 students. Um, Driscoll 517 overall. And if you move your eyes to the left, it shows you how many students are in each grade level. So that's this next slide. I took a look at our forecast for this year. So the middle column says FY26 estimate. So that would have been October 1 of 25 of this year, what we were estimating it to be. And that first column there represents what it actually was. So in terms of out of district, the total number that we report and we claim for FY26 as of October 1 was 66 students. We anticipated that's the number, what the number would be. And in fact, it is what the number is. But we also have students that we are in settlement agreements with, that we do cost share on tuition. And also there's some that we do cost share in terms of when we report those students and when the other party might share the cost and then also be able to claim them. So in preschool, pre-kindergarten, the numbers are down a bit, but that's because we consolidated classrooms last year as a budget reduction measure. And so though it's less, it's not something that we hadn't anticipated, because when you reduce and consolidate classrooms, then there's less availability for taking in more students. We are obligated to provide all special education students with services, and they're all in that number. It really is the tuition paying students that we have fewer of because of the consolidation. At the elementary level, we anticipated we'd have a slight increase at the elementary level, and this was in part based on looking at the cohort survival and making some modifications by grade level last year. That was the model that I used when but I was also influenced by the Cropper and McGibbons report, which suggested that we would start to see a little bit of an uptick at the elementary level and continue to see lower enrollments at the middle and high school level over the next couple of years. And then all of our enrollment would begin to shift to an increase around FY23. So when I was looking at the enrollments and doing the projections last year, all of those factors kind of played into what the forecast was for the current year. What you can see, of course, is that the elementary dipped down, which was a surprise. But at the middle school and the high school, the enrollment projections were pretty on point. So this next couple of slides are really, we had, of course, most of you know, some forecasts that were done in FY24. One was Cropper McGibbons and the other one was NASDAQ. NASDAQ, of course, is really more of a short range tool. They use just strictly the cohort survival method. They don't take into consideration birth rates and other factors that are in the Cropper McGibbons report and forecast. And so what we can see from this is that, last year was the first year and we were all in a basic similar pattern. And that NASDAQ anticipated that our enrollments would dip. Cropper McGibbons said it would dip, but not as much. And what's really happened is that the pattern has been similar to what Cropper McGibbons had anticipated it would be, which is kind of good news, gives us a little more confidence in the Cropper McGibbons forecast. So I also included our forecast on this slide for FY27, and we do anticipate it would go down consistent with Cropper McGibbons and using cohort survival methodology against what Cropper McGibbons was forecasting. It's a pretty similar number. So as we look out and we're considering, enrollments and how that might play into our forecast or the future, it does look like if we look at Cropper McGibbons as a proxy, we would dip down a little bit next year and then start to bounce back up in enrollment numbers here at the public schools of Brookline. So that's what this slide is about. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I just was really interested in looking at, how does that break out? How do Cropper McGibbons, if I break it out by K-5 versus middle versus high, is there any thing I can learn from that? Again, in this slide, Cropper is the orange or red colored line. PSB is the blue, and then NESDEC is the gray. At the elementary level, you can see Cropper was anticipating our enrollment at the elementary level would be higher than what it's coming in at. At the middle school level, it's very similar. At the high school, our enrollment is higher than Cropper McGibbons. So when you put it all together, as I showed in the previous slide, the lower at the elementary is offset by the higher at the high school. So our overall enrollment remains slightly less, but somewhat flat overall. So then we look at what we call in-migration and out-migration patterns. So in-migration means new students coming in, out-migration are withdrawals. And what you can see from this slide is that withdrawals in FY24, so that was 2 years ago, was 325. New students that year were 454. So it was a positive change. We got more students in than we had withdraw. The last 2 years, we've had the opposite. So we've had more students withdraw than we had come in overall. The other thing that you can see from this slide is that the new students coming in has been declining slightly over the last 3 years. So that's kind of the takeaways from this particular slide. Then we get into looking at, just withdrawals and what is the profile. So here we look at students that left us and then enrolled in Massachusetts private schools. Those that left us that went to other Massachusetts public schools, those that left and left the state altogether, and then the number of homeschooled students. And so when we look at this, what we can see, this is of course over 100%, so you can kind of see percentage wise, but the numbers within the bars are the actual numbers. So what in essence we can tell from looking at this is that there's more students that are moving just completely out of Brookline, the majority of this. So anyone that moved out of state is obviously moved out of Brookline. Students that moved to other Massachusetts public schools are families that moved out of Brookline, right? So the majority of the out-migration are families leaving Brookline altogether. Also, a portion of the Massachusetts private schools are from families moving out of Brookline. And some of those numbers also include some students that are moving to private schools within Brookline. When we're looking at in-migration, here again, the same 4 categories, students that are coming to us, having previously been enrolled in other Massachusetts private schools. So, the number was higher this year. So we had, almost twice as many students that were in private schools enrolling in our school this year. So that was kind of interesting. When we looked at students that were enrolled that were previously in other Massachusetts public schools, which means that they moved into Brookline, that number was similar to last year, but both 25 and 26 was a little bit less than it was in 24. And then out of state, what you can see here is a bit of a dip in students that are enrolling that are from out of state. Now that could be, of course, people moving up from Florida or people moving from California or people, moving into Brookline from New Hampshire. It could also mean that also includes our international population. And then homeschooling is, consistent between this year and last year, but down a little bit from FY24. And again, I think if I had 22 up there, I would think homeschooling would be a little higher. Homeschooling spiked, of course, during COVID and has been shifting to lower and lower numbers since then. So this should say FY27 projection. Sorry about that. But this is the 27 projection. So the first column represents what 25 actuals were. So that's October 1 of 25. And then our forecast for 27. And so at the elementary level, looking again to a little bit of a downward shift in total elementary population, a little higher at the middle school and a little bit higher at the high school. One of the things you'll notice is if you look at the 5th grade in the first column, that's moving up to grade 6 in the second column. And what we can see is that the current 6th grade is 528, and the upcoming or the rising 5th grade is 537. So you've got a larger class moving up from the elementary grades into the middle school. You see something similar as we look at the high school, the current 9th grade at 449, and we're looking at a larger incoming freshman class next year. So overall, we're looking at a slight decrease in enrollment of 42 for the upcoming year. So in summary, enrollment continues to decline slightly. This is, as I mentioned, consistent with what Cropper and McGivens forecasted. Our elementary numbers are a little lower, the BHS numbers a little bit higher than was predicted in the Cropper-McGivens report, but overall, one mitigates the other in terms of the overall projection. Out-migration is higher than in-migration, but is proportionate to the enrollment decline. So overall, we're seeing migration declining, but we're also seeing enrollment declining is what I'm saying here. And then our graduating cohorts continue to be larger than our incoming kindergarten cohorts. At least that's been the trend the last couple of years. Overall, the FY27 enrollment is expected to be slightly lower. But Cropper and McGivens, again, is forecasting that our enrollment will begin to increase in 29, and that it's always important to note that enrollment forecasts are vulnerable to changes in many things, but housing availability is one, socioeconomic environment and federal policies are two others. So those are the kind of key takeaways to our enrollment report that we presented at the school committee a week and a half ago.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that you want to add, Bella? You're muted.
No, thank you. Thank you, Bernard. No, I think it's the same presentation that was shared with school committee. And I think Susan hit all the highlights. I think she also addressed the question where people wanted to know if students were going to private school or not. And so she was able to present that data. I think our enrollment is slight decline, but holding steady. And so this is the projection that we are building our forecast on.
Okay, great. Any questions from the committee? Okay, I don't see everyone here.
It may help actually if you go ahead and stop sharing. Thank you, Susan.
I'm trying to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm not sure I'm succeeding.
Hold on, I might
Maybe
be able
at
to
the
take it.
top, you can say stop share.
Yeah, that might be where it is, at the top on one of your screens.
Not seeing it.
Oh, it's gone.
I did it for
Okay.
you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mariah.
you.
Okay, I don't see any hands up. I'll give you a few more minutes. Any questions? One of the things that you mentioned as a factor in the enrollments is federal policies. Have we seen a big impact from the restrictions on immigration? I mean, Brookline is a town that attracts a lot of people going over to the Harvard Medical Center area to work. I mean, has that been a factor in our numbers?
We can't tell explicitly the impact of the federal policy changes. But what we can say is that overall, the in-migration is down.
Yeah,
Right.
we don't know why.
Right.
But yeah,
I feel like staff does a really good job with, as Susan portrayed, of families that moved out of state. And when they move out of state, it also includes people that left the country altogether. And then some families did choose to go to private school. It could have been out of state, could have been in Brookline. I think it probably has an impact on the immigration, but those are people we aren't able to ask.
Right.
If that
Yeah.
helps answer that question. We think so. Maybe families choosing not to come, uncertain about if they came, what that would mean.
Right. Any other questions? No? Okay. Anything else to say? Susan or Bella? No?
No, I think we're on again at the very end.
Yep. We'll see you then. Okay, budget projections and update. Discussion of group health budget and current projections. Who do we have for that discussion?
We had this as a late ad, as a request from the school committee chair. I don't know if there were any particular questions Val had for town side or for staff, but maybe Melissa could just give a quick overview of where the budget projection is right now.
Yeah, I think that's it. And if there's any refinement that's been done on that yet, Melissa.
Sure. So I presented in September kind of a preliminary outlook for the forecast, and knowing that there was still a lot of things that were shifting. December 9th is actually when we present the forecast to the board. So there'll be more information coming out in a couple of weeks. So I can just tell you things that have changed since we put out that September presentation in terms of the forecast. We are still kind of in the forecast. We'll be looking at an override and a no override budget. Our new growth estimates have improved slightly. I will say that the good news on new growth was then consumed by bad news on group health, because our group health consultant is advising us, instead of assuming a 10% increase in group health, that we should be assuming 12% for fiscal 26. I'm sorry, not 26, for 27, 28, and 29. So I had 10% in the forecast, and hoping that it would be going down after that. Right now, state aid, I had assumed at the time level funding of UGA. I'm hopeful that maybe we would see a 1% increase in state aid for UGA. There's been a lot of information put out by the Mass Municipal Association about the strain that municipalities are feeling around Prop 2.5 and state aid, and hopeful that maybe some of the advocacy that they're trying to bring to cities and towns in terms of UGA might bear out when we get our state aid. I am assuming a 2.5% increase for Chapter 70. We are still looking at local receipts, not seeing a huge amount of growth there, but we'll have more information coming in December. So things haven't changed that dramatically from the September report that I put out for the Expenditure and Revenue Committee. But in 2 weeks, we'll have kind of a refined estimate. At that time, I also didn't have the school projections, so I do have that now. That will be built into the forecast as well. I will say that did shift the deficit pretty significantly based on what you're currently projecting for your school budget. So that's pretty much the update that I have.
Is there still pending, I lost track, the municipal option to increase tax on restaurant and hotel?
So that hasn't gone
Yes.
anywhere yet. It's been in the Municipal Empowerment Act, but it hasn't been voted into law just yet.
I understand, but has there been discussion at select board or at the staff level about whether we would choose to implement that?
I think we've talked about it internally in terms of what we think that might be able to bring the town, and we would look to the board for guidance as to whether or not it would require town meeting approval. So it would be something that we would need to put on a warrant for town meeting.
I think realistically, if you were to see movement on this, it would be at the end of the legislative session. So in the spring or summer of next calendar year, which realistically would be too late to get it to town meeting for this fiscal year.
Yeah,
The earliest we could potentially get it would be in the special town meeting in the winter of 26. I also think, frankly, just based on conversations I've had with other municipalities, other aspects of the municipal empowerment law that aren't related to local option taxes are much more likely to pass than the local option taxes. Right now, you have sort of a feeling from smaller communities that don't have access to this money, that allowing communities that have access to it, like us, Somerville, Cambridge, ring cities and towns, basically exacerbates the differential between the haves and have-nots. And given the makeup of the state, it's unlikely, in the absence of similar benefits extended out to smaller municipalities that don't have this money available to draw on, that this is going to pass.
okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? See no hands raised, so let's move on. Okay, Valerie, I think you put in discussion of MBTA Communities Act.
I thought there was a GIC update. I don't have it in front of me, but I thought the agenda had a GIC update.
But we won't know GIC estimates for another, it'll be a little bit, they usually set their rates at the beginning of the year, like February, March timeframe. There is a GIC meeting next month where we'll get a better sense of where they think the rates are going to be. But based on the information that our group health insurance consultant has been, he's been kind of attending a lot of the meetings and really kind of understands the industry very well, that's where the 12% assumption is being driven based on the information that he has.
Thanks. And yes, Bernard, on MBTA Communities Act, my question was about whether the town has seen an uptick in projects that they think will be moving in the next 3 to 5 years that might impact us on the revenue side.
Yeah, Chaz, do you have anything
Sure.
to say to that?
I mean, the short answer currently is no. We have been able to, the projects that we have seen move along the Harvard Street corridor are both due to elements outside of our control. There is a 40B that has received approval at the old Citizens Bank location, and then there is the new daycare combined 4-story structure in Brookline Village that received approval thanks to the Dover Amendment primarily, although it does comply substantively with the requirements of the MBTA Communities Act compromise plan zoning in that district. What we are hearing from developers is that the market, I'm sorry, this is my children in the background here. What we are hearing from developers on the subject is that now is not the time, that effectively they cannot make projects of that size pencil out along Harvard Street. And therefore, the target for us in terms of economic development remains the larger scale projects that are available to us in the midterm, particularly Chestnut Hill West. In the future, we may be looking at the larger parcels on Harvard Street that were not part of the MBTA Communities Act zoning, which include where the Stop and Shop is now, where the TJ Maxx is now. Those parcels have the potential for economic development. They are not part of the MBTA Communities Act zoning, so we will have to see what happens there. But right now, in short, in the next 3 to 5 years, we don't see meaningful development other than Chestnut Hill West, which, to be fair, is meaningful development, but already the current version of the plan for that is dropped from an initial estimate of 9 million in revenue to 4 million, 4 and change million.
Thank you.
Okay, and Waldo Durgan, that's still cold, right?
Yes, the currently construction is on hold at Waldo Durgan. We remain optimistic that it will move forward.
Okay, any questions?
Right, I have one on Waldo Durgan. Chaz, so
Okay.
they leveled the building and then where does it stand right now?
They are not moving forward with, they are waiting, they are on hold for construction pending more favorable interest and a more favorable interest rate environment. They basically need a better deal from the banks in order to begin construction. And
But
so
their
that's where-
project hasn't changed substantially.
No,
Okay.
there's been no change to the plans.
Okay, thanks.
Chaz, are the plans at Waldo Durgan dependent upon time at all, or is it whenever they feel like building it?
Ultimately permits have to be acted on within a certain amount of time. If people don't move on their permits, we can move to revoke them or they have to renew them. But they're not there yet. They're not yet at a position where we would be having that conversation with them.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? I don't see any, so let's move on to discussion of current 5-year revenue projections. Who's gonna do that?
It would
Bernard,
be-
that was,
Melissa, of course.
oh, okay. I was gonna say that the earlier discussion was about the forecast, so if Bella has something else,
I think
Anything to add to that?
I think it's our 5-year,
okay.
right? Oh, so I'm sorry, Melissa, unless it was yours.
It
No,
says revenue, not expenses.
Revenue, not expenses, Bella.
Oh, so sorry. My fault.
No, that's fine. No, so I think, in the forecast coming out in a couple of weeks, there'll be more information about the projections. September, I had provided a casting of initial projections, and those will be kind of refined in the next couple of weeks. So
Okay, so there's really nothing to discuss right now.
no update, no substantial shifts from what was put out in September.
Okay, any other business? Okay, I don't see any hands raised.
I do just want to give an update regarding the Expenditures and Revenue Study Committee, which many people are a member of as part of this committee. But that work continues, obviously. And we are going to be discussing on Friday the timeline for the completion of that work in anticipation of a petition ballot question being issued. And I do think, a big part of that discussion is going to be what the ongoing role of the town school partnership is going forward, in terms of making sure that the promises we make to the community, both on the town and school side, are mutually reinforced and followed up on.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, do we want to take any public comments? No? Okay. In that case, I'll end the meeting.
Thanks all.